Hi there, welcome back to my channel, and today in this video I'm going to be sharing with you what I've been working on in May 2021 and what I'm planning to work on to June and probably a couple of months after that in 2021. So it's just chitty chatty videos about what is going on in my sewing space, and I hope you enjoy it. Although I have to say that this is actually nighttime, you can hear some creaks outside, you probably hear my kids shouting outside as well. I just have a little bit of time and I thought that I would like to spend some time with you chatting about some quilty stuff. Now I must say that this is inspired by a lot of floss tube that I've been watching on, and also some quilty tube that has some of the quilters has done, and I think that is just such a great way for us to kind of like have this space to actually chat about quilty things. And I love listening to what other people are up to, and I hope that this can inspire you to do a lot more in your sewing space and enjoy some more of your quilting hobby. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would love to have you as a subscriber, and make sure you click the like button if you like this kind of video so that I can make more of this. I'm hoping to actually make this as a monthly regular post, but since I have very limited time lately and I've been thinking like I wanted to publish a little more videos, but it was so hard to kind of do a lot of editing, and this kind of video is kind of like more something that I can do and just takes a little bit more editing for me to do. But in the meantime, if you like this kind of video, make sure you click the like button, because that will help the videos get to so much more people and inspire me to actually create more videos. So thank you so much for your support. So let's get to it. So today I'm going to be talking about a recent finish, which is at the end of May. I'm so glad to have actually a quilt to show you, and this is already on the blog post so you can see all the photos of it, but I want to have a little bit of chit chat about it as well, some of the one that I didn't talk about in the blog post down below. So this is my daughter's quilt. This is the first quilt for her, and she's 9 months right now, and I am so excited to actually be able to quilt for a girl, and finally happy to actually have an opportunity to actually create a baby girl's quilt and to keep it. So this is actually a quilt that is available on the pattern that is on my Quilt Go when I got it. So it's a beautiful quilt, and the pattern is on the Quilt Go, and I cut it after I was cutting all the scraps, and I thought I would just make the first quilt out of my Quilt Go, and this was it. And I'm happy that it turned out so well because I love the pattern, and this is also my first time that I did a stitching. This is also my first time using a fabric that is starched in the method that I use, which I talked about on the blog as well recently. I use homemade starch and it works so perfectly. In fact, now that it's all completed, I know how it feels. Like, it's so good right now. It just feels so not stiff, but it's just so neat and tight. I just feel like I don't want to wash it, but I have to because this is my baby's quilt. And what I want to say about this quilt is that there are a couple of things that I just found out when I ended up the quilt. So first thing first, when I was cutting it, so I was just going through the Quilt Go, just following the pattern, how much it needs, what blocks it needs. And then when I started to piece it, I realized that there is an X block that requires some Y seam, and that was difficult to do. And some of them at the beginning it was definitely hard, but at the end I was managing it and it turned out so well. But this block of course can be done a different way, but I just feel like having that Y seam also kind of like give it some sort of something that I want to try out, and it turns out so well. I also did a lot of free motion quilting on this one. As you can see, there is a lot of hearts. It's just a loopy heart design, and I love it because it's just so cute, and it's just like hearts in a heart. And this is made with lots of love, of course, and I'm hoping that my daughter will love it and cherish it all her life. So the backing of this fabric is Bonnie and Camille's older line, and this one is like a cheetah fabric. You have a kind of like an applique circle at the back, but it's not, it's just a cheetah fabric. Now the only thing that I wish I could have done and realized was that this fabric actually has like a square, and I wish that I had paid attention to get it aligned properly as the backing, because I didn't actually look at the backing. I was just backing all of them together, the sandwich all together, and then I realized it at the end when I was doing the binding. I finished all the binding, and what I realized that, oh my goodness me, I should have actually got this in parallel. So this line should actually be parallel to the edges. I should have been careful. Now that it has all been bound, I just realized that it wasn't. So it's slightly off. So as you can see at the bottom here, it's slightly bigger than over there. So you can see that there's a bit of a difference right there, but it wasn't so bad. It wasn't like it was off a lot. So I'm glad I did it quite well, knowing that I didn't actually even plan it. And then if you look at it from the side, you can't even tell, really. It's not that obvious. So I'm glad that it did not show up when it ended, when the whole thing is actually end. Otherwise it would have been so frustrating. So if you want to read more about the quilt, I did wrote a whole article about it on the blog post, so make sure you check that out. You can also check out some of the things that I use, the notions that I use, or some of the things, the fabrics that I use on the blog itself. So as the binding, so for the binding, I didn't have enough binding fabric with the original one, and I added a little bit right there, and it turned out just nice. I love it. So that was the finish in May. And I have a couple of things that is in work. I believe that I would like to say that May was kind of productive for me, because I had a lot of therapy to do. Like, I feel like I need to kind of like be away on myself, and I did find a lot of time to kind of just do that. So I took the time, 30 minutes here and there, especially right now, like today, at night time before sleeping, and after I spend time with the kids and have them dinner, I just spent a little bit of time in the sewing space. So whether that is cutting, pressing, or even just doing a little bit of quilting here and there, and a little progress goes a long way. So a little bit by little bit, and I get my projects done. So I want to show you a couple of things that I did, quilting things that I did. One of them is actually this. I patched this whole thing, I think in May, and this was from a honey bun that was received in my soil sampler box. I think it was, I'm not sure what month is it, but I love the fabric. It's cider by Basic Gray, and you can see all the different colors, and I made 2 table runners out of it. So the patterns in there calls for a long table runner, but I don't have a long big table, so I decided to make 2. One for the table itself and one for the drawers behind it, so it matches. So I have quilted one of them, and one of them is actually at the machine right now. I'm quilting them with all different designs, and I have some leftovers which I decide to make a small table topper or a pillow. So I'm not sure what is it going to turn out into yet, but I was practicing some of the motion here. I would like to show you. So on this one, I decided to do a feather motif, and this is like a swirly feathers, I would like to say. Now it's a good size to actually practice on. It is about 15 inches by 15 inches. I highly recommend if you want to practice some free motion quilting, this is a good project. So you have some like a table topper or a pillowcase that you can practice a lot of free motion quilting on it. It just gives you enough practice and to just know whether the pattern is actually good for a larger project. So when I did this, I thought I was going to do the same pattern on the table runner itself, but when I look at the front, it didn't really shows up as much, and I just feel like I had enough of practice on this piece. I don't want to do it anymore, so I decided to do a different pattern on the table runner itself, just so that I am playing around with all different things and testing out different things, because it's always fun to test out different things. So this is done, and I've already trimmed it up as well. So it's just going to be whether it's going to be bound or going to have a backing for a pillow. I initially wanted to make this as a pillow, that's why I used a muslin. This is a muslin behind. It's just a little thinner than usual. So that's that. And I'm going to show you what I did to the table runner. So So this is one of the table runner. I'm going to show you what I did. So basically this is what I have been wanting to do a long time already, but I didn't like marking. So I don't like marking my quilts, and I'm just lazy to do that. But I decided that it was time, and I wanted to just take it as a process that is fun to do and relaxing. So that's what I did, and I used at first I was using the chalk marker that I was given in the sew sampler box as well, but I didn't like it. So this was that came with the sew sampler, and it keeps on breaking, and I couldn't even sharpen it. It keeps on breaking, and when I sharpen it, it keeps on breaking again. So it's already almost like short, and halfway doing that I decided to just go with my friction pen again. So some of these are marked with friction pen, so these one here, but my friction pen was running out of ink as well, so I need to get a new one as well. And I also used the Hera markers, but Hera markers are not very good for this because if a quilting project, I did lose some of the places, and I kind of like just wing it. It didn't turn out so good, but you can't really see it. It's a really good practice as well, and I love how it turned out. I feel like it's organic. It's not perfectly perfect, but I think that's how it should be. And when it's going to be used, you can't really see it, you can't tell. So I think it's a perfect distances. I did measure 1 inches, 1.5 inches in between, I think, or is it 1 inches? I don't remember. Let me see. So it was about 1 inches. So I made a grid of 1 inches grid, and this is how it turned out. It's dense enough. I love dense quilting, and this is just perfect. So the other one the other one is on the machine itself. I can show you a picture of it later. I can show you a picture of it here. I'm doing it with a walking foot, and I'm enjoying it because I'm trying out some of the never used before stitches that is on my machine, and I think it's a great practice as well as you know, getting to use things that you already have. So that was the quilting that I did. I also made some progress on my aviatrix medallion. So if you read my blog, you know that I'm actually currently quilting my aviatrix medallion, which is a large king size quilt right here. I'm not going to open it right here, but you can see it on my blog, the whole picture of it. I've done this. I finished the quilt I think a few years back, 2018 I would say, 2018, but I have never quilted it. I didn't, and it stayed like that before I have enough courage to actually quilt it, because it's large and I don't want to actually spend a lot of time thinking what am I going to quilt on it. So now I decided to just take it slow and enjoy what I can enjoy. Like if I have a little bit of time, I don't want to rush everything to the end. I just want to enjoy it when I can enjoy it. So that's the point of this hobby, to actually enjoy what I can do instead of just having good finish. So this is what I did for this one. So this month I only did a little bit of progress, but I'm happy to actually just have it on the machine and take it off as well. I would like to say that I only use one thread for all of this quilting. It's the same thread, so that makes it so much easier. I don't have to change thread. I just simply put this quilt away and start quilting on the other quilts, and using the same thread and all the same bobbins as well. So what I want to show you right here is this is what I've done this May. So I started I finished this I think in April, and then I finished this border right here, which is super cute. It's a very fine border, and I did the little swirly with the scallop. So I did all the scallop first, and then the little swirly right there. So I don't know, I just hope that the scallop is actually dense enough to kind of pop this out a little bit. And for this one, I decided to, instead of making different design for each of the blocks, I decided to make all the same design for all of the blocks, because as you can see, the blocks itself is all different. All the squares are differently made, and I love that about the quilt piecing itself, but I didn't want to actually add more details to it. So I just feel like just kind of like a same block. So this square right here will have the same design, but it's going to be rotated in 90 degrees. So what I decided to do on here is to give it a little bit of geometric design and also some of this dense swirls right here, so it gives like a big difference in between the two. So if you can see right here, you can see that this is 90 degrees as opposed to this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and quilt all of this alternatingly, and hopefully that will be done soon. But it's okay, I'm just taking my time. So this was done in one sitting, 3 of them, and I'm probably going to do 3 of them or 2 of them whenever I have time, and I'm not going to push myself. If I'm bored with it, I can just work with another project. I find that I work better with a lot of projects at a time because I get bored. If I work on one single project, like I only decided to actually just work on this one, I don't come to my sewing space at all, like for a few days. Sometimes it takes a week before I get back to my sewing space, and I feel sad because there's nothing to show and there is no progress on anything. So I think that I'm happy that I kind of found my groove. I'm happy to work on different projects at a time, just as long as I can keep up with all the tidying up as well. Because when you work with a lot of projects at a time, you do have kind of things everywhere. So that is that. I'm going to show you another thing that I did, which is the backing. Since I was basting a lot of the quilts, because I wanted to just baste all the quilts at a time, I decided to baste some of the quilts that was already done. I took it off from my top here. There are some other quilts that haven't been basted yet, but these are some of the ones that I have basted. So this one is a project that I made for my boy's quilt. He hasn't got a quilt from me yet, and his sister got the first one, so I better get this done next. So this one is a pillow that will match his quilt. It's a truck quilt. I bought this Tonka trunk bundle, and I know it was for him because he loves trucks. And this is the leftovers, and we decided to turn it into a pillowcase. That one needs to be quilted. Okay, and I decided to do the backing for the quilt. So the quilt was done quite a long time ago as well, a few months ago. I think at the end of 2020. Or somewhere in the middle. I'm not sure, I have to check on my blog. But anyway, the quilt itself is using a pattern that's available for free. I'm gonna put a link down below as well if you want to make this quilt right here. It's super quick and easy to do. It's just using 6 4/4 if I'm not mistaken, and it just went really quickly. And for the backing, I look at the bundle and realize that there is a panel, so I'm going to show you that. So this is the backing, which I used the panel that was in the bundle itself. So you can see that there's a big truck, which is super cute. I mean, I feel like now this is the front and this is the back, but I don't know, he'll love both of them. He said he really loves it so much. So I just need to quilt it and get it done. So the backing wasn't enough, so of course the panel wasn't enough for the quilt itself. The quilt is pretty big. So what I decided to do is to add a little bit of patchwork border. So this is what I did. And when I was playing with my Aku quilt, I was cutting 1/4 triangles as well, and I made this into a pinwheel. So the 1/4 triangles, I used the 1/4 triangles to cut these, and I just realized that because it was my first time cutting it with Aku quilt, I just realized that wasn't the use of it. So it shouldn't be made into a 1/2 square triangles. 1/4 triangles should be used as 1/4 triangles, and like it cuts without the dog ears. And then I realized that, oh okay, the 1/4 triangle was not supposed to be used like this way. It's supposed to be used in a different block. So this one is better to use the 1/2 square triangles because it's actually pieced as a 1/2 square triangles, and there's 4 of them, and we turned it into a pinwheel. So what I decided to do here was that the panel itself was attached to this Tonka construction, so that, and I decided to actually just add another border instead of adding it down right here, because this one is going to be connected to that border that I made, and it was still small because this quilt was long. I decided to add one of this row right here instead of adding it right at the bottom here. So I decided to slash this. So I cut the panels here and then I decided to add this one in. So I think that turned out really well. I love the backing as much as the front. So I'm going to show you right in front here so you can see it. So I think it's beautiful, front and back. So I'm going to be excited to quilt that. I'm going to be quilting it with a edgy design, something that has sharp points, because I feel like that's more boyish. I feel like, I don't know. I'm gonna probably use my favorite one as well, which is the square loop ruler, which is a square loops, but it depends. Maybe I like to try straight line quilting as well. I don't know. So it depends when I have the idea and I have the mood to actually do that. So since I was backing a few quilts, I also decided to make a few backing for some of the quilts that need to be basted. But this one hasn't been basted. But I decided to create a label because I was inspired by Kimberly of Fat Quarter Shop. She does amazing label on her back. I mean, like, she just bought the labels, but she put it so nicely at the back. So since I didn't have any of the label that is printed except for this label that is from Dutch Label, which I'm going to put a link down below as well so that you can get an access to that. And I want to write the year because this is going to be a quilt label that shows when the quilt is actually done, and hopefully that is going to be done in 2021. So this one is done using my machine, and it's also a good way to kind of use the thing that is on your machine that you rarely use. I rarely use some of this embroidery on my machine. I rarely use the letters as well, and it was a good kind of exercise to do so. So what I did was I used fabric in my stash. This was from my stash. This one was a bright colored blue, deep colored, and I didn't have any project for it, but I bought it off somebody else's stash. This is Philip Jacob for Rowan. I think this is a long time ago line. Something like Cafe Facette. I mean, the colors is so bright, and I decided to just use something in my stash. This was solids from my stash. That was enough. The backing has to be pieced because it's bigger than the normal 44-inch wide fabric. So I decided to slash my Rowan fabric in half and then slot this in. And this is the quilt that is going to be a picnic quilt, hopefully. This is the backing for this quilt, which is a scrappy quilt, but I received some of the blocks from a swap back in 2011. So that's why it says in there on the label 2011 until 2021. So if you can see some of the prints on it, my son was looking at it and he was like amazed looking at some of the fun little prints that some of my fellow swap friends did, like this little cat panther right here. It's so cute, and then the little strawberries and the stars. I'm sure that the quilter herself had a lot of fun piecing this, and I'm glad that it actually become a part of my quilt. This is the thing about quilters around the world. They can pass all this love through their piecing inside the quilt. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about one more last quilt, which is going to be basted, but I decided not to baste it now because I'm thinking of buying another backing for this. So let me know in the comment what you think of this, okay? So this is a Liberty of London fabrics quilt. It's made a long time ago. I love this quilt so much. When I opened it again, I was like, oh my god, it's so soft. It's the softest quilt top I've ever made because it's made of the Liberty of London, and I use foils for this. I'm gonna put a link down below if I can still get an access to this, but this is the solid is actually voile itself, so it's the same kind of like textures and same feel with the Liberty of London, and I just feel like combination of that just makes the perfect light quilt, and it's just so soft. And it has like a vintage feels to it as well, which makes me feel like I really love this quilt. I decided back then and still now believe that I'm going to hand quilt this, even though I am slow at hand piecing or hand quilting or anything hand project, but I still want that dream to come true. So I want to base this with a right backing, and I was thinking of using this print right here, which I have in my stash because I'm just trying to use things in my stash, but now I'm thinking, no, it doesn't deserve this. It deserves something better. So let me know. So what I'm thinking is that I'm gonna buy one of this Liberty of Liberty of London fabric for the backing. Now Liberty of London is a little bit expensive than the other quilting cotton. It's because that is very fine and it's even have different textures to it, and also woven. I think the woven lines are a bit different. It's just soft. It's really great. If you haven't used it, you can try and buy really small pieces. These are made from Fat 16th, if I'm not mistaken. They were little small. I was collecting it over a few months, and then I decided to make into a quilt, and now I'm no longer a part of that for a long time, because I'm not sure whether I'm going to be making any more Liberty of London quilt, but I do love this one, so I need to finish this one first. So what I'm thinking is to hand quilt this with just a simple straight line quilting, or probably a fan, whatever I decided, but it's going to be hand quilted. I am planning to splurge on one of the Liberty of London for the backing itself. This measures, let me just roughly measure this, okay? This measures about 44 inches, and I know that Liberty of London, I think it comes with a 56 inches wide fabric, so maybe I am able to kind of like not piece it. I don't know, I'll try and have a look at and check that out. But either way, tell me in the comment, is it worth the splurge for this quilt, so that I can actually just get the backing that matches the front. So let me know in the comment and I'll weigh that out, okay? And I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it, hopefully in the coming month. I've also made some progress on my Socialites quilt, and now we are almost at the end. So this is my last of May's quilt block, which is the one by Lori Hall. It's super cute. It's a sewing machine, and it's just the one that I'm actually working on right here, so I haven't even colored it. So these are the ones that I've done, and these were my plan, so I'm excited to get this one done as well. I've also just want to show you what I did. I keep all my pieces in here. There are some of the ones that I need to catch up with. I think, oh no, I didn't. So if I have anything that I need to catch up with, I basically have some times and I cut the pieces and I put it in here, so it's easy for me to kind of like pick it up and just sew. And this is what I have for the last of May, and I think we have another couple of blocks, 2 blocks maybe, before we end this Socialites blocks, and then we're going to put it together. I have also starched new fabrics right here that I'm going to be working on in June and July. Can't show you right yet, but I starched it because I love the final look of the starch quilt that I just made. I decided that I'm going to spend some time to do a little bit of starching before I start working, except for pre-cuts. So this is a pre-cut that I'm also working on. This is also one of the Sew Sampler pattern, and this was worn by Coriander Quilts. So this is the fabric. I love this fabric. It's so soft. It's also a table topper. I am going to make it into a table topper as well. And what I did, like in 10 minutes time that I have, sometimes I did the marking, sometimes I just do the cutting, and that only takes few minutes, like 20 minutes sometimes I have, and I just leave it on here. And I love this project bag because it can keep all the pieces in one place, and just easy for me to kind of carry it around so that I can have all of them easily stacked on top of each other and easily neat. I love it. I'm going to put a link to something similar from Amazon. I got this from my local shop, of course, and it's really nice. I just feel like the size is so perfect for any project. See, this is a fat quarter. I fold it in quarter and it fits just nicely right there, so it's perfect for that. So I forgot to tell you, I also made a binding for my table runners. Since I have 2 table runners, this is going to be enough, a long one. It's just going to be solid. This is from my stash as well. I'm trying to use a lot from my stash rather than buying new ones. A couple of things that is already in my stash and I need to use it, so that's what I'm going to tell you. In June, what I'm planning to do is actually to cut some of these fabrics into jelly rolls. So these one I got, I think, a couple of months back, and these were from AGF, Caterina Rosella. Love all the florals of this, and the blue, the navy, the pinks. This is me. I love the colors. So what I decided to do now, I'm going to cut it into jelly rolls using my Echo Quilt cutter, the 2.5 inch strips. That's going to be fun. And this one as well. This one was a long time ago. I'm not sure whether the fabric is still available, but this one has little mushrooms which I decided to buy and add to my stash, and I've never even opened it yet. So I'm going to cut it into 2.5 inch strips. And this one is the leftover from my mini quilts that I made. And what I'm going to do is actually take some of the projects from this new book that I bought. This is a new book that I have in my stash. I just bought it from Fat Quarter Shop. I'm going to put a link down below if you're interested. It's all quilts using jelly roll. It's by Vanessa Goetsons, so of Lela Boutique. She also designed some of the fabrics like this one. I'm gonna create the first quilt right in here. I'm gonna show you just quickly. So these are some of the quilts that's in here, which is beautiful. I'm just gonna show you this quilt, Marble Cheesecake. I'm gonna make this one right here. I think it's just pretty, it's lovely. I'm gonna make this one with the leftovers from here, and of course some background fabric. So that's gonna be there. That's going to be the first quilt of this book, definitely. But the rest I'm going to use from here. So I'm going to cut it into jelly rolls, and so I'll tell you when and which patterns I'm going to be working on. So another book that I have in my stash and I haven't actually do anything about it yet is this book by Bonnie and Camille. I must say that I love the book. It's just really colorful and I love the feel of it. So this one is by Soema. So this is the Bonnie and Camille Quilt Bee book. I love the book. There's a lot of projects in there, but I also love the samplers. You know how I am about samplers, but particularly probably I want to actually just work on this one first as a mini, and this little flowers is just so cute. It also has a cross stitch pattern right behind here, which I am itchy to do, but I've heard that it takes a long time and I'm very slow at hand stitching, so that's not going to be something that I'll be working on yet. So I guess that's it for the updates of May and what I'm going to be doing in June. I hope you enjoyed this little chitty chatty. Let me know in the comment, what are you working on, what are your plans, and what are the books that you have just purchased or anything like that. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this kind of video, please make sure you click the like button. And thank you for listening all the way here. I hope you have a wonderful day and have fun quilting. Bye bye.